Hi, I am Savaya, lecturer in physics, working in Vignan institutions. In the previous session, I explained the Biot-Savart's law and the applications of the Biot-Savart's law. In this session, I am going to explain the problems based on the Biot-Savart's law, that is the magnetic field produced by the current carrying straight wire, current carrying circular coil and the arc in the lesson moving charges and magnetism. Okay? The contents of the today's session are problems based on the Biot-Savart's law. In that, first of all, I am going to explain the magnetic field produced by the current carrying straight wire. Then the magnetic field produced by the current carrying circular coil. Then the magnetic field produced by the current carrying arc. And finally, I am going to explain the magnetic field produced by the combinations of the wires, coils and magnetic combinations of the wire, coil and the arc shape. Okay? Now, before going to solve the problems, first of all, let us recall the things what we studied in the previous session. If suppose there is a finite wire AC carrying current I, we know that this current carrying wire produces the magnetic field. We want to find out the magnetic conduction at point P, which is at a perpendicular distance d from the given wire. At that point, the magnetic conduction can be determined by the formula B is equal to mu naught I divided by 4 pi d into sin alpha plus sin beta. In this equation, I is the current passing through the wire, d is the perpendicular distance of the point from the wire, and alpha beta are the angles elevated by the top end and bottom end of the wire at point P. So this angle is alpha and this angle is beta. While measuring this alpha and beta, remember one thing. This alpha value must be measured in the clockwise direction and the beta value must be measured in the anti-clockwise direction. By substituting the alpha and beta values and the distance for the given finite wire, we can determine the magnetic induction by using this formula. This is the general formula. Using this formula, for any length of the wire, for any distant point, we can determine the magnetic induction value. Okay? Now, come to the current carrying circular coil. Here, we have a coil of radius r, which is carrying a current I. This is the axis of the coil. Suppose we want to determine the magnetic induction at point P, which is at a distance x from the center of the coil. The magnetic induction is given by the formula Bp is equal to mu naught Ni r square divided by 2 into r square plus x square whole power 3 by 2. In this equation, N is the number of the turns in the coil, I is the current passing through the coil, r is the radius of the coil and x is the distance of the point from the center along the axis of the coil. Okay? Suppose we want to determine the magnetic induction at the center of the coil. See, this O is the center of the coil. At the center of the coil, the distance of the point x becomes 0. By substituting x is equal to 0 in this equation, the equation can be minimized as BC is equal to mu naught Ni divided by 2R. Here, N is the number of the turns, I is the current and R is the radius of the coil. If suppose we have the wire in the form of arc like this. If suppose I is the current passing through the arc and the arc subtends an angle theta at the center of the circle of radius r, then the magnetic induction produced by the coil, the magnetic induction produced by the arc is given by B is equal to mu naught I theta divided by 4 pi r. Here theta is the angle subtended by the arc at the center of the circle. Okay. Now, in all these cases, we studied the formulas to determine the strength of the magnetic field. But you know that magnetic field is a vector quantity. That's why, while solving the problems, we have to decide the direction of the magnetic field also. How to decide the direction of the magnetic field? For that, let us take your right hand. Let us assume that the current carrying conductor is held in your right hand like this, such that the direction of the thumb is opened in the direction of the current passing through the conductor. Then the curling fingers gives the direction of the magnetic field. See, this is the right hand. The thumb is opened in the direction of the current, and the curling fingers gives the direction of the magnetic field produced by the current carrying wire. So, by using this general rule, we can determine the direction of the magnetic field produced by any current carrying conductor. Right? Now, by keeping these formulas and the way of determining the direction of the magnetic field, we are going to solve the problems. Okay? Now, come to the first problem. Find the magnetic field produced by the current carrying conductor shown in the figure, which is carrying a current of 4 amperes at a perpendicular distance of 2 meters. Here, a finite current carrying conductor is given, and the current passing through the conductor is given by I is equal to 4 amperes. And we want to find out the magnetic conduction value at a distance of 2 meters. D is equal to 2 meters. Here, the top end and bottom end are elevated 30 degrees and 45 degrees at point P. That's why here alpha is equal to 30 degrees and beta is equal to 45 degrees. Now, by knowing the ID, alpha, beta values, we can determine the magnetic induction by using the formula B is equal to mu naught I divided by 4 pi D into sin alpha plus sin beta. So here we know that mu naught by 4 pi is equal to 10 to the power of minus 7 into 4 divided by distance is equal to 2 into sin alpha means sin 30 degrees plus sin 45 degrees. So we know the sin 30 degrees value and sin 45 value. It becomes 10 to the power of minus 7 into 2 into, we know that sin 30 is equal to 1 by 2, that 1 by 2 is equal to 0.5 plus sin 45 is equal to 1 by root 2, 1 by root 2 value is equal to 0.707. Now add these two and multiply with 2, you will get the answer for the magnetic induction. The value is found to be 2.414 into 10 to the power of minus 7 Tesla. What is the direction of the magnetic field? So open the thumb finger in the direction of the current passing through the conductor and the curling fingers entering into the board. That's why here the magnetic field produced by the wire acts inwards like this. It is perpendicular to the board and entering into the board. Right? Now come to the next problem. Find the magnetic field produced by the current carrying conductor of infinite length carrying current of 4 amperes at a perpendicular distance of 2 meters. Here also a wire is given which is carrying a current of I is equal to 4 amperes. And we want to find out the magnetic induction at a distance of 2 meters. That's why the perpendicular distance D is equal to 2 meters. Now, what is the difference between the previous problem and this one? In the previous problem, the wire is having finite length, whereas here this wire is having infinite length. In this case, what are the elevated angles of the top end and the bottom end? See, if suppose the wire is having smaller length, the elevated angle is small. If the length of the wire is more, the elevated angle is also more. But here, the length of the wire is up to infinity, so that infinity point makes an angle of 90 degrees at point P. That's why alpha is equal to 90 degrees. Similarly, the bottom point also elevated at an angle of 90 degrees. Why? Because the top end is at infinite distance and the bottom end is also at infinite distance, so that they are elevated at 90 degrees. That's why alpha is equal to 90 degrees, beta is equal to 90 degrees. By knowing alpha, beta, I, D values, we can determine the magnetic induction value, that is given by B is equal to mu naught I divided by 4 pi D into sin alpha plus sin beta. Here, by substituting alpha is equal to 90, beta is equal to 90, we have sin 90 is equal to 1, sin 90 is equal to 1, 1 plus 1 is equal to 2, so that the formula becomes B is equal to mu naught I divided by 2 pi D. This is equal to 4 pi into 10 to the power of minus 7 into 4 divided by 2 pi into 2. Okay, so this pi gets cancelled, 2 into 2 4, 4 also gets cancelled, and we have 4 into 10 to the power of minus 7 Tesla. Using the right hand rule, here also the direction of the magnetic field is perpendicular to the plane of the board and entering into the board by using the right hand rule. Okay, so for the infinite wire, alpha is equal to 90 degrees, beta is equal to 90 degrees, so the formula is simplified as B is equal to mu naught I divided by 2 pi D. Now come to the next problem. Find the magnetic field produced by the current carrying conductor of infinite length carrying a current of 4 amperes at P at a perpendicular distance of 1 meter nearer to one end shown in the figure. Here also we have the wire of infinite length, but here the point P is located at a perpendicular distance D from one end of the wire. See the difference between the previous one and this one. In the previous one, the top end is at infinite distance and the bottom end is also at infinite distance from the point P, whereas here the top end is at infinite distance and the bottom end is at a perpendicular distance D from the bottom end. In this case, here the elevated angle of the top end alpha is equal to 90 degrees, whereas the elevated angle of the lower end beta is equal to 0 degrees. Why? Because this point P is at a perpendicular distance of D from the bottom end, so that the elevated angle beta is equal to 0, and the current is given as I is equal to 4 amperes and the perpendicular distance D is equal to 1 meter. Now by substituting these values in the general formula, B is equal to mu naught I divided by 4 pi D sin alpha plus sin beta, we have B is equal to mu naught I divided by 4 pi D. This is equal to, this mu naught by 4 pi is equal to 10 to the power of minus 7 into 4 divided by D is equal to 1, so that B is equal to 4 into 10 to the power of minus 7 Tesla. Okay? Four into 10 to the power of minus 7 Tesla. Here also, using the right hand rule, the direction of the magnetic field acts inwards. right? So till now we discussed three problems. One is having finite length, one is having infinite length, such that the top end is at infinite distance, the bottom end is also at infinite distance, and here the top end is at infinite distance and the bottom end is nearer to the point P. Okay? Now come to the next problem. Figure shows a square loop of side A carrying a current I made from a uniform wire. Find the magnetic field at the center of the square. Here a long wire is taken that is bent in the shape of a square like this, and the side of the square is given as A. And the wire is carrying a current of I, as shown in the figure. We want to find out the magnetic field produced by these four sides of the square at the center of the square, that is at point P. Now, what formula we have to use? Is there only one wire? No. The given wire is bent in the shape of a square so that the entire wire can be divided into four portions. One is AB, the second one is BC, the third one is CD, and the fourth one is DE. In such cases, let us determine the magnetic field produced by the each and every portion of the wire and add them vectorically. We get the total magnetic field produced by the entire wire. For that, see here, this BD is the one diagonal and this AC is the another diagonal of the square, and the intersections of the two diagonals is nothing but the center of the square. Okay, here this angle is equal to 90 degrees, whereas this diagonal is the angular bisector. That's why this angle is equal to 45 degrees and this angle is also equal to 45 degrees. Now let this D is the perpendicular distance of the given point P from the AB wire. If this is 45 degrees, this is 90 degrees, then this is automatically 45 degrees and this is also 45 degrees. That means the points A and B are elevated at angles 45 degrees at point P. That's why, knowing the perpendicular distance and the elevated angles, first of all I am going to determine the magnetic field produced by the AB wire by using the general formula. Okay? Due to AB wire. Here what is alpha? Alpha is equal to 45 degrees and beta is also equal to 45 degrees. And here the current I is equal to I and the perpendicular distance D is equal to how much? The side of the square is equal to A. From the center point to the side, the distance is nothing but half of the side of the square, that is D is equal to A by 2. Now by using the general formula, B is equal to mu naught I divided by 4 pi D into sin alpha plus sin beta. We have B is equal to mu naught I divided by 4 pi D is equal to A by 2 into sin 45 plus sin 45. This is equal to mu naught I divided by 4 pi A into 2 into sin 45 is equal to 1 by root 2. This sin 45 is equal to 1 by root 2. 1 by root 2 plus 1 by root 2 is equal to 2 by root 2. So that this can be written as mu naught I divided by 4 pi A into 4 by root 2. Let it be equation number 1. So in the first equation, I obtain the value of the magnetic field produced by the AB portion of the wire at point P. And what is its direction? Again, by using the right hand palm rule, we have the direction of the magnetic field. Open the thumb finger in the direction of the current and curl the fingers, the curling fingers entering into the board. That's why this magnetic field is acting perpendicular to the board and entering into the board. Okay? By using this similar procedure, I am going to determine the magnetic field produced by the BC wire, CD wire and DA wire. Is there any similarity between the wires? Yes. All are nothing but the sides of the same square, so that all sides are having equal lengths. That too, the perpendicular distance is same from each wire and the elevated angles are also same. Each elevated angle is equal to 45 degrees. That's why the BC wire, CD wire and DA wire all are producing the same strength of the magnetic field at the center point. And what are the directions? So, due to this BC wire, the magnetic field is entering into the board. Due to this CD wire also, the magnetic field is entering into the board. And due to this DA also, the magnetic field is entering into the board. Okay? Open the thumb finger in the direction of the current and curl your fingers. The curling fingers gives the direction of the magnetic field. For BC, CD and DA also, the magnetic field enters into the board. That's why if we separately write down the relations are due to the AB wire, let it be B1, that is equal to mu naught I divided by 4 pi d into 4 by root 2 into the board. This is due to AB wire. Similarly, due to the BC wire, B2 is equal to mu naught I divided by 4 pi d into 4 by root 2. It is also into the board. Similarly, B3 and B4, which are nothing but the magnetic field produced by the CD wire and DA wire, are also equal. They are also equal to mu naught I divided by 4 pi d 4 by root 2, and they are also acting perpendicular to the plane and entering into the board. Okay? So, 4 parts are producing magnetic fields and all the fields are in the same direction. That's why by adding them we get the total magnetic field produced by the entire wire, that is given by B is equal to B1 plus B2 plus B3 plus B4. That is equal to, by adding all these 4 we have mu naught I divided by 4 pi d into 16 by root 2. And the direction of the magnetic field is perpendicular to the plane of the board and entering into the board. Okay? If suppose we determine the magnetic fields produced by the different portions and they are in the opposite directions, what we have to do? If they are in the opposite directions, just we have to subtract from one another. If they are making some angle with one another, then we have to use the parallelogram law of vector addition, that is R is equal to square root of p square plus q square plus 2pq cos theta, to determine the resultant of the two vectors. Right? This is the general procedure to be followed whenever your wire is bending into a regular shape like square, triangle, hexagonal, like that. Okay? To understand this concept, let us see one more problem based on the same concept. The wire ABC shown in the figure forms an equilateral triangle of side A. Find the magnetic field at the center of the triangle. Here, the wire is bent in the form of the ABC triangle. Let us assume that it is carrying a current I. And here, the side of the triangle is given as A. Now, due to this wire, we want to determine the magnetic field at the center of the triangle, which is nothing but the centroid of the triangle. Okay, so this is the point of intersection of the three medians, which is nothing but the centroid. Let it be represented as the point P. Using the procedure followed in the previous problem, here also let us determine the magnetic field produced by the AB wire. Due to AB wire, what is the magnetic field? To produce the magnetic field, we should know the elevated angles made by the two ends of the wire at point P. Here, what are the elevated angles? Because this is the equilateral triangle, the angle at this corner is equal to 60 degrees. Whereas this is a medium, which is the angular bisector, that's why this angle is equal to 30 degrees. Similarly, this angle is also equal to 30 degrees. If this is 30, this is 90, then this angle is equal to 60 degrees and this angle is also equal to 60 degrees. That's why the points A and B are elevated at angles 60 degrees at point P. So that magnetic conduction B is equal to mu naught I divided by 4 pi D into sin alpha plus sin beta. Here alpha is found to be 60 degrees and beta is also found to be 60 degrees. But there is one more task. You have to find out D. What is the D? D is the perpendicular distance of the centroid from the side of the triangle. What is it? If suppose A is the side of the triangle, then the height of the triangle BD is given by BD is equal to root 3A by 2. So I think you studied in your mathematics. By knowing the side of the triangle, we can determine the height of the equilateral triangle by using the formula H is equal to, here BD is equal to root 3A by 2. That already you know that the centroid divides the median in the ratio of 2:1. So using that concept, the distance between these 2 points, that is dP, which is nothing but this EP, is equal to perpendicular distance of the centroid from the side, that is given by D is equal to H by 3. By substituting this H value in this equation, we have root 3A by 2 into 3, that is equal to A by 2 root 3. Now substitute this D value, alpha value and beta value in this equation, we get the magnetic field produced by the one side of the triangle. So by substituting, we have B is equal to mu naught I divided by 4 pi. What is the D? D is equal to A by 2 root 3 into sin 60 plus sin 60. This is equal to mu naught I divided by 4 pi A into 2 root 3 into, you know that sin 60 is equal to root 3 by 2. Root 3 by 2 plus root 3 by 2 is equal to root 3. So that we can write it as mu naught I divided by 4 pi A into root 3 into root 3 is equal to 3. 3 into 2 is equal to 6. This is equation number 1. By using the right hand rule, if suppose this is the direction of the current, then the direction of the magnetic field is perpendicular to the board and entering into the board like this. Here we determine the magnetic field produced by the one side of the triangle. So sides are equal, perpendicular distances are equal, elevated angles are also equal. That's why BC and CA portions are also producing the same amount of the magnetic field, so that we can write it as B1 is equal to B2 is equal to B3 is equal to this much, and all sides are producing the magnetic field into the board. We can observe that by using the right hand rule. Okay, so B1, B2, B3 are known and the directions are also known. The directions are in the same direction. That's why by adding these three we can determine the total magnetic field produced. B is equal to B1 plus B2 plus B3. By adding these three we get it as mu naught I divided by 4 pi A into 18. Okay, now here the magnetic field produced by the wire bent in the shape of the triangle in which the current is passing in the clockwise direction is given by this much, and the field enters into the plane of the board like this. So by following this procedure, for any given shape of the wire we can determine the magnetic field value. Right? Come to the next model. Find the magnetic field produced by the current carrying conductor shown in the figure, which is carrying a current of 4 amperes at a distance of 2 meters from one end along the length of the wire. See this problem here. The point P is at a distance D from one end and the point is located along the length of the wire. When the point is located along the length of the wire, my question is, what is the elevated angle of the top end and what is the elevated angle of the bottom end? Here, the elevated angle of the top end is equal to 0. The elevated angle of the bottom end is also equal to 0. That means alpha is equal to 0 and beta is also equal to 0. By using the general formula we have B is equal to mu naught I divided by 4 pi D into sin alpha plus sin beta. What happens? This sin 0 is equal to 0, sin 0 is equal to 0, so that 0 into anything is equal to 0, so that we have 0 magnetic field. It means whenever the point is located along the length of the given wire, then the magnetic field produced by that wire at that point is equal to 0. Now come to the next model. Find the magnetic field at a point P produced by the current carrying conductor shown in the figure. Here, this AC is the current carrying conductor which is carrying a current I. We want to determine the magnetic field at point P, which is at a distance A from the bottom end of the given wire, as shown in the figure. Now, see this diagram. This A is not the perpendicular distance. That too, here the elevated angles of A, the elevated angles of the point A and point C at point P are given as 60 degrees and 30 degrees. When you see the diagram, this is measured in the clockwise direction and this is also measured in the clockwise direction. Now, suppose D is the perpendicular distance of the point from the given wire. See, there is a right angle triangle CP, let it be Q. From the triangle CPQ, what can we write? From the triangle CPQ, we can write cos theta is equal to D by A. From this we can write the perpendicular distance D is equal to A cos theta. Here this theta is equal to 30 degrees. This is equal to A cos 30 degrees. This is equal to root 3 A by 2. Now, we know that the general formula is B is equal to mu naught I divided by 4 pi D into sin alpha plus sin beta. Here what is alpha and what is beta? By seeing this diagram we can say that alpha is equal to the elevated angle of the top end at point P, that is equal to 60 degrees, and beta is equal to the elevated angle of the bottom end at point P, that is equal to 30 degrees. But if we take that beta as 30 degrees, we can say that you are committed to a mistake. Why? Because this 30 degrees is measured in the clockwise direction, but this beta value must be measured in the anti-clockwise direction only, so that this angle will become the beta, but not this. So that we can say that beta is equal to, the total angle is 360 degrees minus 30 degrees. That's why this beta is equal to 360 minus 30 degrees. So let us identify this difference between this one and the previous problems. Here the elevated angle made by the lower end is also given in the clockwise direction, but that must be measured in the anti-clockwise direction. By taking that into the consideration, the beta value is found to be 360 minus 30. Now by substituting alpha value and beta value in these equations, we have B is equal to mu naught I divided by 4 pi d into sin alpha is equal to sin 60 and sin beta is equal to sin 360 minus 30. Sin 360 minus 30 is equal to minus sin 30. So that we can write it as mu naught I divided by 4 pi d into sin 60 is equal to root 3 by 2 minus sin 30 is equal to 1 by 2. By making the mathematical simplification, we get the answer for the magnetic induction produced by the given AC wire. Here also the direction of the magnetic field is entering into the board by using the right hand rule. Right? So let us identify the difference. Now, whatever the concepts studied here, while solving these problems, we are going to apply the same formulas in the coming part of the problems also. Now come to the next model, that is the circular coil. Find the magnetic induction at the center P of the concentric current carrying coils shown in the figure. Here two coils are given for us. P is the concentric center of the two coils. At this point P, due to these two coils, we want to determine the magnetic field. Okay? For that already we know that the magnetic field produced by the circular coil B is equal to mu naught Ni divided by 2R. If I is the current and R is the radius, the field produced by the coil is given by B is equal to mu naught Ni divided by 2R. Here, first of all, let us take the field produced by the first coil, let it be B1. B1 is equal to mu naught Ni divided by 2R1. Why? Because its radius is equal to R1. Next, what is B2? It is the field produced by the second coil of radius R2, so that B2 is equal to mu naught Ni divided by 2R2. So we obtain B1, B2 values. Then what is the resultant field? Are the two added up or subtracted? And what rule we have to follow? For that, in addition to the strength of the magnetic field produced by the coils, determine the direction of the magnetic field produced by the coils also by using the right hand rule. Now, due to this first wire, due to the first coil, what is the direction of the magnetic field? For that, open your thumb in the direction of the current and the curling fingers use the direction of the magnetic field. See, the curling fingers are coming out of the board. That's why this B1 is coming out of the board like this, which is acting outwards. Whereas the field produced by the second coil is directed inwards by using the right hand rule. Okay, so the two are in opposite direction. One is acting upwards, one is acting downwards. They are acting opposite to one another. That's why the resultant field B is equal to larger value minus a smaller value. Here R2 is smaller, that's why B2 is larger. So B2 is B2 minus B1, and the resultant will be in the direction of the larger magnetic field. B2 is acting inwards, that's why the resultant also acting inwards. Substitute B1, B2 values in this equation, it becomes mu naught Ni divided by 2 into 1 by R2 minus 1 by R1. Sometimes the coils are placed like this and the currents are passing in the same direction. Then in this case what happened? The fields are produced by the two coils are in the same direction. In that case the resultant field is equal to B1 plus B2. The resultant field becomes B1 plus B2. Sometimes the two coils are held perpendicular to one another like this. In this case what happened? Because their planes are perpendicular to one another, the fields produced by them are also perpendicular to one another. In that case, use the concept root of B1 square plus B2 square, which is obtained from the parallelogram law of vector addition, to determine the resultant value. That's why obtaining the values and also identifying the directions are very important while solving the problems to determine the resultant magnetic field produced by the two or more coils. Right? Come to the next one. Find the magnetic induction at point P due to the arrangement shown in the figure. Here, the arrangement is shown in the figure. It is carrying a current I. We want to determine the magnetic induction at point P. For that, let us mark the frame as A, B, C, D. Now, I am going to determine the magnetic induction due to AB, BC, CD and AD portions separately. After that, by adding them vectorically, I am going to calculate the resultant magnetic induction value. First of all, due to AB, what is the magnetic induction? See, the point P is located along the length of the AB portion. That's why the magnetic induction B1 is equal to 0. And due to BC, what is the magnetic induction B2? See, this BC is in the form of the circular arc, which is carrying a current I having radius R2. So because of the circular arc, we know the formula for the magnetic induction, that is given by B2 is equal to mu naught I divided by 4 pi R into theta. Here R is the radius of the coil. For this BC arc, the radius is equal to R2. That's why B2 is equal to mu naught I by 4 pi R2 into theta. Now, due to CD, that B3 is the magnetic induction. What is this value? So, the point P is locating along the length of the CD portion. That's why the magnetic induction produced by the CD at point P is equal to 0. Next, finally, due to dA portion, what is the magnetic field produced? That is given by B4 is equal to mu naught I divided by 4 pi R1 into theta. See here, the two arcs are subtending the same angle theta, but the radii are different. That's why, so it reflects in the equations of B2 and B4. Now, what is the resultant magnetic field? The resultant magnetic field is equal to vector sum of the four fields. Of these four, two are zeros. That's why just we have to add the remaining two vector quantities. For that, we should know the directions. What is the direction of the B2 and B4? See, B2 is the magnetic field produced by the BC arc. The current is along this direction. That's why the magnetic field entering into the board. Okay? Whereas B4 is the magnetic field produced by the dA arc. In case of the dA arc, the current is flowing like this. That's why the current impedance is coming out of the board. It is acting inwards, it is acting outwards. That's why the resultant field is equal to larger value minus a smaller value. Here R2 is larger, that's why B2 is smaller, then B is equal to B4 minus B2, which is equal to mu naught I divided by 4 pi into 1 by R1 minus 1 by R2. Usually this field is in the direction of the larger field. Here B4 is larger, that's why the resultant field is also in the direction of the B4. It means it is acting outwards. Right? Come to the another model. Find the magnetic induction at point P due to the arrangement shown in the figure. Here the given arrangement is also marked as A, B, C, D, and due to this A, B, C, D, A, also we want to determine the magnetic induction at point P. See here, AB is a straight portion, CD is also straight portion, but BC and DA are the semicircular arcs. We know that for a semicircular arcs, the angle subtended at the center is equal to 180 degrees. So using that, the magnetic field produced by the larger one is given by B1 is equal to mu naught I divided by 4 pi R1 into theta. Here theta is equal to pi. So pi cancelled and it becomes mu naught I divided by 4 R1. What is the direction of the magnetic field? Here the direction of the magnetic field is perpendicular to the board and entering into the board. Similarly, determine the magnetic field produced by the smaller arc DA, that is B2 is equal to, again the formula is saying mu naught I divided by 4 pi R2 into pi. This is equal to mu naught I divided by 4 R2. What is the direction of this one? Here, by using the right hand rule, the direction of the magnetic field is found to be inwards. Now, due to this AB portion, what is the magnetic induction value? The magnetic induction B3 is equal to 0. Why? Because the point P is located along the length of the wire. Similarly, due to this CD portion also, the magnetic field is given by B4 is equal to 0. Why? Because here also the point P is located along the length of the wire. So B3, B4 are equal to zeros. So by adding B1 and B2 vectorically, we can determine the resultant magnetic field. Here B1 acting inwards, B2 is also acting inwards, so that the resultant field is given by B resultant is equal to B1 plus B2. This is equal to mu naught I divided by 4 into 1 by R1 plus 1 by R2. This is acting inwards. Right? Come to the next model, which is the combination of the infinite wire and the circular ring. Find the magnetic induction at point P due to the arrangement shown in the figure. Okay? Here the entire wire is going to be dividing into 3 portions. One is from infinity to this point, let it be taken as AC, which is the first portion. The second one is the circular shape, let it be taken as the second portion, and the third one is the C to E up to infinity, as shown in the figure. This is the third portion. Now due to the first portion, second portion and third portion, I am going to determine B1, B2, B3 values. After that I am going to add them vectorically to get the resultant magnetic field. Okay? Here, due to the first portion, that is AC, what is the magnetic field? So this is the infinite wire and the point is located nearer to the one end of the wire. See, while solving the problem number 3 in this session, we derived the equation for magnetic field that is given by B is equal to mu naught I divided by 4 pi d whenever the point is nearer to one end of the infinite wire. That is B1 is equal to mu naught I divided by 4 pi d. Here d is nothing but the radius of the circle, which is the perpendicular distance of the point from the given wire. And what is the direction of the magnetic field? Here, open the thumb finger in the direction of the current, then the direction of the magnetic field is coming out of the board. Now, come to the magnetic field produced by the circular coil. Here this coil is having only one turn and the magnetic field produced by the circular coil is given by B2 is equal to mu naught I divided by 2R. Here the radius of the circle is equal to d, that's why B2 is equal to mu naught I divided by 2d. And what is the direction of the magnetic field? Here the current is flowing in the coil along this direction, so that if we open the thumb finger in the direction of the current and curl the curling fingers entering into the board, that's why it acts inwards. And due to the third portion of the wire, the magnetic field is given by B3 is equal to mu naught I divided by 4 pi d. Why? Because here also the point is close to the one end of the infinite wire. Now B3 is equal to mu naught I by 4 pi d. What is the direction? Here also by opening the thumb finger in the direction of the current, if we curl the curling fingers coming outwards, that's why it also acts outwards. So in these three, two act outwards, one acts inwards, so that the resultant magnetic field is given by B resultant is equal to B1 minus B2 plus B3. Mu naught I by 4 pi d minus mu naught I divided by 2d plus mu naught I divided by 4 pi d. So by taking mu naught I divided by 2d as common, it becomes mu naught I by 2d into 1 by 2 pi minus 1 plus 1 by 2 pi. This is equal to mu naught I divided by 2d into 1 by pi minus 1. What is its direction? So two are acting outwards, one is acting inwards, whereas B1, B3 are taken as positive in this case. That's why we get the resultant magnetic field which is acting outwards. Okay, this is about the combination of the field produced by the wire and the circular coil. Now see one more problem. Find the magnetic induction at point P due to the arrangement shown in the figure. Here also the given arrangement can be divided into three portions. Let it be first portion, let it be second portion, and let it be third portion. Okay. Now, if R is the radius of the semicircular coil, then what is the distance of the point P from the given straight wire? This one is also equal to R, and this one is also equal to R. Now, due to the infinite straight wire, the magnetic induction is given by B1 is equal to mu naught I divided by 4 pi R. Why? Because the point is nearer to one end of the infinite wire and the direction of the magnetic field is acting inwards. And Due to the semicircular coil, the magnetic field is given by B2 is equal to mu naught I divided by 4 pi r into theta. Here theta is equal to pi for the semicircular coil, so that this is equal to mu naught I divided by 4r. What is the direction of the magnetic field? The direction of the magnetic field also inverts. Now, due to the third portion, which is the infinite wire, due to that infinite wire, the magnetic field is equal to 0. Why? Because the point P is located along the length of the given infinite wire, so that B3 is equal to 0. So B1 is acting inverse, B2 is also acting inverse, so that the resultant magnetic field is given by B resultant is equal to B1 plus B2. By adding these two, we have mu naught I divided by 4 pi d plus mu naught I divided by 4r. This d is also nothing but r. So by taking mu naught I divided by 4r as common, it becomes mu naught I by 4r into 1 by pi plus 1. So by following this procedure, we can determine the magnetic field produced by the wires, coils, arcs, and also the combination of the wires, coils, and the arcs. And finally, I am going to explain one more problem in which the field is producing in the three-dimensional way. So find the magnetic induction at point P due to the arrangement shown in the figure. Okay, here this portion, AB portion, is locating in the XZ plane, and this CD portion is also locating in the XZ plane, but this BC semicircular arc is locating in the XY plane. So because of this three-dimensional arrangement shown in the figure, we are going to determine the magnetic induction at point P. Further, we have to identify the direction of the magnetic field in vector form. First, due to this AB wire, you know that this point P is located at a distance of r from the one end of the AB wire, so that the magnetic field is given by B1 is equal to mu naught I divided by 4 pi r. What is its direction? See here, the current carrying wire is in the XZ plane. That's why whenever you curl the fingers, the curling fingers acts inwards into the curling fingers acts inwards in vertically downward direction. In the vertically downward direction, what is the unit vector used? We know that I, J, K are the unit vectors used along the XYZ axis. Whereas due to this AB portion, the magnetic field is producing the vertically downward direction, that is along the negative y-axis direction. That's why this B1 is equal to mu naught I divided by 4 pi r into minus j cap. Now take this semicircular arc. Now the magnetic field produced by a semicircular arc B2 is equal to mu naught I divided by 4 pi r into pi, that is equal to mu naught I divided by 2r. What is the direction? Here the semicircular arc is in the XY plane and it is carrying the current like this. When we curl the fingers are entering into the board and perpendicular to the board. That is nothing but along the negative z-axis, so that vectorically we can write it as B2 is equal to mu 2I divided by 2r into minus k cap. See here, this B1 is acting along the negative y-axis direction, that's why value is multiplied with minus j cap to get the vector form. Whereas this B2 is acting along the negative z-axis direction, that's why the value is multiplied with the minus k bar to get the vector. Similarly, the magnetic field produced by the CD wire is given by B3, that is also equal to mu naught I divided by 4 pi r Why? Because the point is located at a perpendicular distance r from one end, so that B3 is equal to mu naught I divided by 4 pi r. What is the direction of this B3? Here also the current is passing through the wire in the xy plane along this direction. When you curl the fingers acting inwards in vertically downward direction along the negative y-axis direction, so that this B3 is given by mu naught I divided by 4 pi r minus j cap. See here, the three fields are not lying in the same plane. They are lying in the different planes. That's why along with the magnitudes, I write down the vectors by using the unit vectors. Now, by adding B1, B2, B3, we can determine the resultant magnetic field. That is, B resultant is equal to B1 bar plus B2 bar plus B3 bar. So, substitution of B1, B3, substitution of B1, B2, B3 is mathematics. So, substitute the B1, B2, B3 values and solve the problem, then you will get the resultant magnetic field value. Okay? Now, in this session, I explained the different models, and I think you understand the different models. Try to solve many more problems by practicing the problems in the different books. Okay? So, you have to identify the magnitude of the field and also the direction of the field and add them vectorically to determine the magnetic field value. Right? In the next session, we will meet again with another concept. Thank you one and all.